Listening, fill in the blanks.
Let's start.
A cement maker proudly speaks about the brief history of the road. This main road was part of an incentive program supported by the SS Fund to help local people to find economic alternatives to harvesting coca, from which cocaine is produced. For years later, the road is a global vacuum from which timber from the Peruvian rainforest is taken to China. Some wood will be polished into luxury parquet flooring for high-quality homes in Shanghai and Beijing. More wood will be used in Chinese factories and made into patio furniture, decking or flooring in North America and Europe. Certainly, any prospective time travelers may have to overcome more physical and logical hurdles than merely overtaking the speed of light. One such problem, posited by René Barjavel in his 1943 text La Voyager Imprudent, is the so-called grandfather paradox. Barjavel theorized that, if it were possible to go back in time, a time traveler could potentially kill his own grandfather. If this were to happen, however, the time traveler himself would not be born, which is already known to be true. In other words, there is a paradox in circumventing an already known future. Time travel is able to facilitate past actions that mean time travel itself cannot occur.
One of the reasons why thinkers struggle to recognize this trend may be one of definition. After all, I am a friend to someone I have known and loved for 25 years, but I am also a friend of the earth. Friendship is a slippery category. This, however, is where philosophers are supposed to help. Aristotle divided friendships into 3 types: friendships for usefulness, friendships for pleasure, and friendships of virtue.
The Kendlers found that the children could learn the separate bits readily enough. Given the task of getting a marble by pressing the button, they could get the marble. Given the task of getting a toy when a marble was handed to them, they could use the marble. All they had to do was put it in a hole. But they did not, for the most part, integrate, to use the Kendlers' terminology. They did not press the button to get the marble, and then proceed without further help to use the marble to get the toy. So the Kendlers concluded that they were incapable of deductive reasoning.
Action is being taken along several fronts, through new legislation, improved enforcement, and innovative technology. In Los Angeles, state regulations are forcing manufacturers to try to sell ever cleaner cars. Their first of the cleanest, titled zero-emission vehicles, have to be available soon, since they are intended to make up 2% of sales in 1997. Local authorities in London are campaigning to be allowed to enforce anti-pollution laws themselves. At present, only the police have the power to do so, but they tend to be busy elsewhere. In Singapore, renting out road space to users is the way of the future.
Sachs himself is the best part of Musicophilia. He richly documents his own life in the book, and reveals highly personal experiences. The photograph of him on the cover of the book, which shows him wearing headphones, eyes closed, clearly enchanted as he listens to Alfred Brendel perform Beethoven's Pathetique Sonata, makes a positive impression that is borne out by the contents of the book. Sachs' voice throughout is steady and erudite, but never pontifical. He is neither self-conscious nor self-promoting.
Anxiety is an emotion that all people experience from time to time, and we do that for very good reasons. It has been built into us. We have inherited it from our evolutionary past, because, in general, anxiety has a survival function. If there is a real danger for a primitive man, then anxiety kicks in an adaptive way. We freeze, we stop doing whatever we were doing, we devote all of our attention to the danger, and our bodies react with a big release of adrenaline, an increase in blood flow to the muscles, getting us ready to run as fast as we can or fight as fiercely as we can.
They are the frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe and temporal lobe. What is considered as the seat of thought in our brain is the cerebral cortex, which, in human brains, is quite enlarged. Sound and language are processed in the temporal lobe. The hippocampus and the amygdala play an active role in memory and emotion. The brain stem is connected to the spinal cord. It consists of the midbrain, the pons and the medulla oblongata. The main function of the brainstem is to relay information from the body to the brain and vice versa. It also controls breathing, functioning of the heart and consciousness.
One of the main problems posed by sand dunes is their encroachment on human habitats. Sand dunes move by different means, all of them aided by the wind. Sand dunes threaten buildings and crops in Africa, the Middle East, and China. Preventing sand dunes from overwhelming cities and agricultural areas has become a priority for the United Nations Environment Program. On the other hand, dune habitats provide niches for highly specialized plants and animals, including numerous rare and endangered species.
One of the greatest challenges we face today is the eradication of hunger and malnutrition. The consequences of not getting enough to eat or eating food which is unhealthy for human consumption are not only poor health, but also a general slowdown in areas of development and employment. Poverty remains the principal cause. Unequal distribution of wealth, lack of resources and strife are the main causes of poverty, which in turn leads to hunger. According to statistical estimates from the World Bank, 896 million people in developing countries live on less than $1.90 a day. Sometimes it is even worse.
Like, share, subscribe the channel, and press the bell icon for further updates.